Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Transformation Revolution Starts With You. I'm pleased to introduce our special guest, founder and CEO of Captivix, Rahul Maheshwary. Hi, Rahul. How are you today?
Good, Maria. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. Just a little bit about you, and as we were talking about your background, you're really a digital transformation and technology leader. And what I found really interesting about your background is that you have led not only complex initiatives at Citibank and Motorola around digital strategy and technology implementation, but it's not only your strength in big business, your strength also lies and thrives on bringing best practices to mid and small companies as well. Business process improvements and innovation, as well as really kind of helping that digital transformation. So during today's session, we're going to be talking about a few different things, not only from your experience, Rahul, but also what digital transformation really is, and start talking about that from a business process perspective. We're going to start dispelling some myths and how you all on the phone can get started. And just a few housekeeping items before we move to the broadcast itself. All participants are in listen-only mode for the duration of the webinar, but please feel free to chat any questions in the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. And we're going to do our best to get to all of your questions by the end of today's session. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rahul. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Maria, for the introduction. What is digital transformation? This is one of those keywords that gets floated around different places on the internet. Everybody has a different perception, different ideas are floating around it, and people often ask, what exactly is digital transformation? The standard definition of a digital transformation is a transformation that includes the integration of technology in different areas of your business that is going to help you operate better and deliver value to your customer. One point to note it is not necessarily about technology. It is about leveraging technology and do whatever you do better and serve your customer even better. So some of you would be thinking, yeah, we have heard that a million times, right? What does that mean to me? What does that mean to my industry? So let's take an example. I think everybody knows Britannica. So rather than diving into some of the small and mid-sized companies that a lot of you may not be aware of, let's talk about Britannica. I believe everybody knows Britannica, and at one particular point of time, a lot of us all owned that encyclopedia. Remember those 20, 30 volumes sitting in your library or your living room? That was quite prevalent in 80s and even in 90s. Don't see that anymore. Why? Because internet made it very difficult for Britannica to survive, at least survive based on their previous model. So what did Britannica do differently? George Coz, who is the president of the company, they went through a deep dive brainstorming session. And what should they do? They realized that their value is not in publishing. Their value is in content and always had been in content. So they went through the digital transformation. And again, digital transformation is not a big bang, big initiative that is going to pivot your business and bring you extreme values. It's a series of small initiatives that is going to incrementally build value for you. So they went through upgrading their system, building their infrastructure, digitizing their encyclopedia, adding subscription models rather than selling the encyclopedia print versions. Actually, they stopped doing so. That added some revenue. A lot of people subscribed. A lot of people bought their DVDs. But that's what not it. They further dig deeper, and they also understood their customer, what else they can do for their customers. They realized that Wikipedia is one of their major competitors with free content, and the content ranging from one subject to another. On the other hand, Britannica had smaller scoped but more accurate content, and that was their advantage. So they started e-learning models for schools, for high schools, for primary schools, elementary schools, and that's where the real money started flowing through. So that was Britannica's story. Let's dig deeper. So before we get into how we can implement it, what is a digital transformation initiative and what is not? Let's take an example. So one of the food manufacturing and distribution companies we were working with in Ohio, they used to supply products to other manufacturers, the raw ingredients, to restaurants, and even to retail locations. They also leveraged third-party reverse logistic companies. And their sales model was sales rep used to visit customers in their warehouses, to their retail locations, to their manufacturing locations, take orders, and then they fulfill those orders. So this was their state before they started any kind of a digital transformation initiative. So this image infographic pretty much tells the story. So sales rep drives to the customer location with a pen and paper, listen to their customer, listen to their complaints. If there are any kind of recalls or any kind of return orders, they take a note to that. They drive back to their office location, update the sales orders or the quotations, and send it to the customers for their review. Even make some calls to the customer just to make sure they got it correctly. And then they make another call to their reverse logistics system, and the reverse logistic company send the transportation to pick up the returns item. This whole span takes anywhere from few hours to a couple of days before the customer orders were entered into the system for fulfillment. And a lot of times there was like a lot of room for error. Either the quantity was not correct, or maybe a lot of in different times that the item were out of stock. The orders that the customer wanted, and then the salesperson, once they were in front of the system, they quickly figured out, you know what, we don't have it in stock. So they made the call to the customer that, okay, we don't have item A, but we have item B, which is similar. Do you want that or not? And so on and so forth. So at this time, this is a very simple operation, sales operation. And there was an opportunity over there. So we worked with them, and let me show a demo that what exactly helped them transform only this particular operation. So I'm going to share my screen.
And while Rahul is doing that, please feel free to chat any questions at the bottom left-hand side of your screen. I see a few coming in right now, and I see some others that have been chatted to me separately. And of course, if you're interested in digital transformation, please feel free to visit the Captivix site at www.captivix.com.
All right, I think if I did it right, you guys should be able to see my screen. So this is the ERP system that food manufacturing company was using. And as you can see, these were the orders. Of course, this is not their system. This is our demo server, just to clarify that. And this is all the sales order that were made that were ordered for these different customers. So now what we did was we built a mobile application that integrated with their existing ERP system. They didn't have to change anything. They didn't have to implement a new ERP system with more robust mobile capabilities. So let me pull up the mobile application. And this is one of our demo apps. Again, this demo app has limited functionality that is plug and play, and this is usually enhanced for our customer depending on what their requirements are. And this is running from our demo server. So the salespeople were empowered with this mobile application. So now they don't have to carry any kind of a paper and pencil. All they need to do is carry their smartphones, look for the items, whatever the items they have. They can see the on-hand quantity. They can also see the competing items. And in a lot of different scenarios, we also added margins that they were making on every item. So they can pitch an item that has a higher margin to their customers. Now, they can go to their customer, and let's say I'm the salesperson. I went to Progressive Home Furnishing. I can look at all the previous sales history. I can see the customer has a balance due of $24.61, but it is not blocked, so that is way within their payment terms. And while I'm doing so, I can create a new sales order. I can add items. I can even scan an item. So right now I don't have any barcode to scan, but if in the warehouse situation, they can just scan the items, and that can be added to the cart. Now this is a sales order that is automatically being created. The sales rep takes the customer authorization, saves it, confirms the order. So there is a sales order number 1101 already created. And you can see on the sales history that sales order 1101 is already reflected over there. Now, let's go back to the ERP system and see what is happening behind the scenes. We just got refreshed. Okay, so you see the sales order 1101 automatically synced up in the ERP system with today's date. And Progressive Home Furnishing is the customer name. Let's click on this. And we added one bicycle and 2 front wheels. That is already ready. And this is already being sent to the fulfillment, probably to their warehouse. As you can see, now a lot of those back and forth can be avoided. And if there were any items that were out of stock, salesperson would have known before they placed an order. This is applicable for the return order as well. There is another thing that can be easily be added is for the terms of recall is having a traceability using a lot number or a batch number. But that's a subject for another day. So with that said, let's get back to our presentation. So what was the new state, the future state? Salesperson driving to the customer location and taking the sales order, and done. Some of you might be thinking like, okay, what about the data? What about the data? What about the internet connectivity? A lot of these warehouses and their manufacturing locations, they are in remote areas with a weak cell phone reception. Well, the application works on an offline mode. So even if you do not have any connectivity, all the sales orders and everything is stored natively into your device. And as soon as you get the connectivity, it's automatically being synced up with your ERP system or any kind of a backend system that you have. I hope that clarified a small data transformation initiative that brought a lot of value to the company in terms of efficiency and to this customer in terms of speeding up the time when they placed an order with the order accuracy and when they received the order. Now let's visit what are the myths about digital transformation. So the first myth is upgrading existing system automatically leads to digital transformation. Well, that depends. Depends on what value you bring to your customer. Now the question is, does that upgradation dramatically improve your customer experience or not? So I was talking recently to a fabrication company in Wisconsin. The CIO mentioned that they are upgrading their infrastructure and migrating everything to the cloud. They're also updating their ERP and MRP systems. And I asked him, what does that mean to your customer? The answer was like, yeah, we planned everything. They will not even notice. It will not impact them. So what he meant was there is no risk to what we are doing. Our customers will operate the same way. We will operate the same way and our customers will not notice. I was thinking like, okay, that's great, but that's probably a waste of opportunity also. How about if you're already in cloud, expose your customer with some portal so that they can see their orders, they can look at certain reports that might excite them, that might lead to more value to them, and then they can continue to buy even more items from you. The other myth is digital transformation is a single one-time project. Well, it's more of a journey. And I think I did cover when we were talking about the definition of a digital transformation. It's not one big bang project that all the problems will be solved, your systems will be super efficient, and you will explore new opportunities and at the same time increase the customer value. It is a series of smaller initiatives that leads to digital transformation. So digital transformation is a series of strategies, and it has a roadmap that we can discuss a little bit later in the presentation. And one key thing is whatever roadmap and the strategy you have, always have to listen to your customer, keep an eye on your competitors and market trends, and keep evolving. Another idea that is floating around is if we have the latest technology, that is what requires us to transform our business. Well, maybe in few cases, but that is not always the case. And that is the technology by itself doesn't provide any kind of a transformation. It is Technology is a catalyst that you can use to transform. So just because there is something shiny doesn't mean it's relevant for you. I was thinking about one incident. My wife and I, we moved into our new home, and to enhance our dinner experience, we needed a better dining table. My wife was traveling, and she relied on me to look for a table. I went to a furniture store and saw this amazing table. It was the latest product in the market, really good looking. And so what did I do? I just bought it. When my wife returned, she wasn't so thrilled the way I was, because it was a foosball table. Well, what's wrong with that? It was a table, and it was new, it was shiny, it was new in the market. But it did not serve the purpose we originally had in mind. To end to that story, I was lucky. I got to keep the table, but we had to get a real dining table. So coming to some of the more relevant examples is just investing in a predictive analytics may not make sense for you if you do not have the capabilities of capturing the right data points to begin with. The predictive analytics will come second in the game. You need a chief digital officer or an entire innovation lab, innovation team from the employees from MIT or Harvard for you to transform digitally. Well, that's not true either. So one of our customers, a distribution company in Pennsylvania, they have 3 people in their team. I think it's a company of 100 to 150 employees. So they have assigned 3 people part-time. So that means they're working probably 30 to 40 hours in a month to look for opportunities. One person is from IT, one is from finance, and other is from operations. And they are looking new ways to evolve their business, asking questions that how we can improve this operation, not in silo for one department, but for the organization as a whole, including that department. Listening to the customers, thinking how we can enhance the customer experience. And at time to time, they bring in an IT consultant or outside firm to further get recommendations. And then whatever they see and find worth trying it out, they maintain a roadmap, and a backlog that leads to a roadmap, which we will discuss later. But you do not need a multi-million innovation lab similar to a lot of other companies in Silicon Valley like Google or Amazon. All you need is a team robust and with the right thinking culture. This is something I hear often, that transforming means completely recasting your business. Well, if your company is already doing great and it has a good business model that really works, you have good sales, decent margin, you don't need to revamp everything. All you can look for are areas or pockets of opportunity that you can improve on. Remember the demo? So the food manufacturing company that we discussed, their model was working already. They just needed small tweaks to further enhance their business and provide more value to their customer and improve the efficiency in their return as well as sales order processing, not completely recasting their business. Now, a lot of you are thinking, yeah, these are the myths. We know we need to do some of the initiatives, but why do we need to transform? What's wrong with the current, the way it was, the way it has always been working for us? It did work for us for 50 years. Why now? So there are a few reasons. It's a very dynamic world now. Why we need to transform now? So customers are much more empowered and connected these days what they used to be the last decade. It doesn't matter what kind of a customer or what kind of a model you have, whether you have a B2B model or a B2C. Every customer with the new technology capabilities, they are getting empowered, they're getting connected every day. One of the company, a third-party logistics company in Pennsylvania, they provided transportation and warehouse services to manufacturing companies, specifically in the consumer products area. To do so, they often leverage third-party transportation companies and agents. So they outsourced. So every time the inventory was on move from one location to another, so probably from their agent's warehouse to one of the retail store where they have to drop ship, the operations folks of the company need to make phone calls to the driver to ensure that the inventory was delivered, and made another call to the store location that they did receive it, and then roll it up and provide a status to their customers and update that, okay, we have successfully delivered to these 50 locations. And all these things were done in Microsoft Excel. So when we were having some analysis sessions, we asked, like, why don't you guys provide a simple mobile application to your drivers and a portal to your customer so that they can track the status? So your drivers can update, customers can see the status. So that eliminates a lot of back and forth that you have to do over the phone. The answer was, no, our industry is too antiquated, and this is how we have operated for the last many decades. And our drivers, they don't have smartphones. They still use flip phones. And our customers, they want to see an email. I don't think if you provide a URL to a portal, they will even open it. Well, the whole analysis session and discussion happened 2 years ago. I just received a communication from them last month. They said, hey, can we add a mobile application and a customer portal? So why now? Because their competitors are already doing so, and that left them behind in their game. So customers are always they are getting more and more empowered. So we need to think ahead how we can leverage the technology and provide them the value. The next is expectations are rising, the customer expectations, because they are getting empowered with the mobile application, with the good data plans. Then it's natural that they're expecting more from us. So you all remember, like just a few years ago, we used to have thermostats. They were manually operated. You can run a program that, okay, you wake up at 6 and you go, you get to work at, leave for work at 8, and from 8 till 5, nobody is at home. So depending if it's a summer or winter, you have to be energy efficient. So the heating is going to turn off or cooling is going to turn off, and then so on and so forth. Just a few years ago, around like 5-6 years ago. Then the new thermostats came with the Wi-Fi capabilities. And we were saying, wow, now if I'm leaving from office a little bit earlier, I don't need to get to home and my home is freezing. I can use my mobile device, mobile phone, and raise up the temperature. Now, just after that, the machine learning algorithms came through. Now, what happened? They were learning your behavior pattern. What time you leave for work, what time you come back, and then it adjusted the temperatures for the weekend, for the weekdays, differently. But that is all old news now. The new ones are connected with the smart home systems, like Alexa, Google Home. I don't know what's going to be the next. So expectations are always rising. And we want to make sure we are always up in our game. The third reason is technology is evolving new business capabilities. Yeah, because we have better smartphone services, good data. So take an example. Taxi dispatch companies, they used to make fortunes. Everybody is familiar with the yellow cab in New York. Now, in the past decade, we didn't have the smartphone with the accurate location services. We didn't have 4G, 5G data services. Now we do. So Uber took the benefit of it, and they're crushing the taxi dispatch company. A lot of those companies went out of business, and it's a serious threat to the remainder. The next is the last century business design no longer work. Yeah, we have seen the Barnes and Nobles, the Blockbusters, the retail stores like Toys R Us, which went bankrupt. Sears is going through the bankruptcy. It doesn't work anymore. So I don't think we need to talk anymore about it. So bottom line is disrupt or get disrupted. And then the last one is new competition are surfacing daily. Sometimes those competition is not within the industry, but it is to the industry. Look at the music industry. Look at the retail, publishing. We took an example of Britannica, hospitality. Hilton no longer just need to compete with Marriott when there is a new player in the market, Airbnb. Maybe in future, airline industry, they also need to start preparing as a Hyperloop concept is not a concept anymore in the next couple of years. Now, great. We know about what are the myths. We saw what a digital transformation initiative looks like. Now, how do we get started? So there are three pillars of digital transformation. The first is people, that drives the culture in your organization. The second is strategy, that is your digital strategy, that gives you competitive advantage. And then finally, the technology that enables it. Let's look a little bit detail into this. So people driving the culture. In older models, the business or the management, they used to mandate things. They used to have like a 5-year plan that, okay, we need to do so many things, and these are our initiatives. They plan it like further ahead, and IT was instructed to execute those plans. There was no feedback loop. So one of the example is JCPenney. A new CEO came in a few years ago, had a big mandate, had great ideas to drive JCPenney's sale up to the roof. What happened? There was no feedback loop. There was no data loop. They did not listen to their customers. And after a few years and spending millions and millions of dollars into the initiatives that did not add value to anybody, they failed. The new model is IT and business, they have to work together. As oftentimes, IT, depending on what the ecosystem is and what are the capabilities right now, provide feedback to the business. Hey, there is a new technology in town. If we leverage that, maybe we can do things differently. Or maybe we can tap this particular business that we never thought we can do so before. And we will take some examples when we discuss the strategy and the roadmap. The next is experiment and accept failure. Now you guys might be thinking, accept failure? Now wait a minute. Whatever so far in the webinar made sense, but how can we accept failure? Okay, let me elaborate. When we say experiment, we are not talking about multi-million-dollar costly experiments like what JCPenney did. We are talking about small POCs, experiment, few different things. Have a quick feedback loop, be more agile, and listen to the market, get the customer feedback. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, accept the failure and keep moving on. Of course, we have to be smart about it, and that's where our cost-benefit analysis comes in. So we can figure out, like, okay, without spending millions and millions of dollars, how we can test the market with something as little as a few $1,000s. Challenge current business operations. Just because you have been doing certain things in a certain way for last 20 years doesn't mean that's the right way to do things in 2018 or now 2019. So challenge and see how we can make it better. And this is important. Be agile and simplify things. The complexity is the killer of execution. And no working in silos. Last century, different departments, they used to work differently with very few integration points. That should not be the case anymore. These days, sometimes the whole department is not required anymore because there is a technology that can handle things better. And that's a corporate decision, not specifically to a department. So people drive culture. Now comes to the strategy. Now what should be your digital strategy? So there are 4 categories of digital strategy. One is uncovering new opportunities. If you are a standard manufacturer, have been supplying to the distribution company, maybe getting direct to the customer, maybe a new opportunity. Maybe expanding to other markets, other countries, maybe other opportunity. Explore that. Improve efficiency. So we already discussed one of the examples, and maybe if we have time, we can go for another demo of another initiative to improve efficiency. But again, if you can reduce the 10-step process to 1-step process, that's what you want to do. Manage risk. Now, some of the initiatives are, for example, compliance, recall. You have to be adept in order to handle that. Like any kind of a recall system, you have to make sure your backend system, your ERP systems are capable of handling certain kind of a traceability that you can pinpoint what are the lots that you have to recall rather than recalling the entire collection. And then enhance your customer value. So maybe your customers were buying from you through distributors, through retail chain. Now they're directly buying from you and you are shipping them. Maybe more convenient to them. And maybe now you know about them better because you have a rewards platform also. They are getting value. So are you. Now, how you leverage the technology. So there are 3 steps of evaluation. So first is you need to have your core strong. The infrastructure should be there to support it. If your infrastructure is weak, then there is no way you can run a complicated data analytics. So get your core strong. Improve your efficiency. Look around, see what is out there and how you can improve that further. The example was mobile application that we just demoed. Explore new market and opportunities. So I think we've already discussed that. If you're a manufacturer and if you are not directly selling to your customers, maybe you can, or maybe now there are so many models with Amazon, fulfillment by Amazon, fulfillment by merchants that can be leveraged to expand new markets. And a lot of companies, including like few companies in Berkshire Hathaway, portfolio companies, they are directly working with Amazon now. Now, we discussed these 3 pillars, how everything will start coming in together. There are tons of canvases available in the market. This is one of the Forrester one. There are a few from Gartner. There are a few from Nielsen. It just talks about all these different points, all the pillars, and how everything can come together. Let's take an example instead and simplify things. And let's start creating a digital backlog. So we discussed 4 different categories of strategy, digital strategy. So improve efficiency. If you're a manufacturer, you want to make sure you have a better demand and production planning capabilities. You have a better forecasting capabilities. And you have a good automation. You may want to enhance your customer and reduce their lag time from the time they place the order till the time they receive the shipment. These are very high-level activities, and it's going to go much further in detail. Now, you take the digital strategy and start plotting against your digital roadmap. So the leftmost column, it shows you all the different types of strategy. Then you get into the backlog much more in detail. So these are very high level. So maybe like to enhance your customer value can be something like this, like, okay, if you have the inventory that is out of stock, rather than not showing the inventory at all into your e-commerce system, maybe you can let them place a wish list or a back order or something. And once the item is back in stock, they can purchase it. And then what are the IT feedback? What are the initiatives that IT can bring in? So maybe IT can bring in like a certain kind of a plugin that integrates any kind of an e-commerce system or a specific kind of an e-commerce system with a specific kind of a ERP system. And those things are sometimes really cheap. And this is one of the scenarios that happened, and I can probably show that demo to you. So very cost-effective way of integrating 2 different systems rather than implementing a completely new ERP system or an e-commerce system to accommodate that need. Then we assign budget to each initiative. And then we have some kind of a value, estimated value that we are going to get from that. Based on that, you prioritize when do you want to kick off that initiative, the timeline for that. And that becomes your digital. That's how you plot your digital roadmap. Now, this is not once it is done, it just stays the way it is. There is so many, always listen to the feedback from the customer. Once you do a POC, and then the initiative might be just doing a POC to some beta users, maybe 100 users, 100 your customers, and listen to what they say. Is it driving sales? Is it driving your customer satisfaction? And if it is, then spread it across to the rest of your customer. If it is not, you know what to do with that. Invest elsewhere. I think we have enough time. We can just go for one quick demo, and then we can open for Q&As. So let me share my screen again.
And while we're sharing the screen, excuse me, again, please chat your questions in the lower left-hand side of your screen. I've already seen quite a few, Rahul, so you'll be able to talk once again. And here we are. Your screen is shared.
Thank you, Maria. So this is one of the demo, a shopping cart that we created. Sorry. So we have like some random items. All the items are pulled in from our a demo ERP system. And this is one of the web fronts. So what I can do is I can look at all the items that I have. Since it's a simplistic version, we don't see the taxonomy or the hierarchy or the categories right now. We just see the products. So let's say if I'm interested in this lamp, it shows me the price. It also tells me like, okay, how many are left in stock. So similar to what you are used to seeing at Amazon. But a lot of the mid-size or small company, their e-commerce stores, you don't get that real-time information. And if you don't have that information, you do not know how to leverage it. So we know that it is 271 items in the stock. Let me add this item. And let me add this desk as well. So I have a lamp on my desk. I can go to my cart, look at the items, and proceed to checkout. Let me fill in some pre-filled information. For the demo purposes, we have hidden the payment options, so it is just on cash on delivery, so we can place an order. Okay, I think I need to have a last name here. Okay, so while the order is being processed, and it just took like a couple of seconds to process the order, there is an order number already created over here. And we have both these items that we ordered. Now let's look at our backend system. This was the previous sales order that came through the mobile application. Okay. 1102. Just want to make sure that's the one that we are looking at. Yes, 1102. And let's look at the order. Here is your lamp and your desk. So what happened behind the scenes? There is a plugin. And what it does is very simple. It pulls the information from the ERP system maybe every hour, depending on what kind of a load it is. This is more of an infrastructure subject, so we'll skip it. But let's say routinely, it takes the information from the ERP system and updates the e-commerce system. And as soon as the order is created, customer is created, the customer and the order is automatically synced into the ERP system. And the shipment, the warehouse team will see that order immediately, and they can ship it. The previous state was probably it sits into the e-commerce system. Somebody manually loads all the order from the e-commerce system into the ERP system, maybe takes a day or two, and then goes to the fulfillment process. So that reduces significant time as well as effort. And it's very cost effective. And it gives your customer a real-time value about the inventory. So they don't, by mistake, or not by mistake, they do not order the inventory that is already out of stock because the systems are not synced up.
I do want to thank everybody for joining us today, and especially I want to thank you. I think you've given the audience a tremendous amount of information to think about and really some considerations when it comes to how they want to implement or even think about digital transformation in their own enterprises and their own businesses. And for more information on Captivix digital transformation, or if you just want to shoot us a note and say hi, the information is on your screen. It's let's talk at captivix.com. Visit our website at www.captivix.com. And replays of today's live webinar will be available on the Captivix website within about 48 hours. Again, I want to thank Rahul. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thanks and goodbye.